All right, sir. What is your name?
Eric Chancellor.
Awesome, Eric. So what would be some things that those running could promise to improve or change that would make you more inclined to vote for them?
Definitely a reform of the political system. Definitely a reform of the economic system. Definitely a reform of the school system, and particularly the school funding systems. Yeah, I don't know. Basically, a promise of some sort of positive progression.
Awesome, that would be amazing. So who are you currently voting for as of now?
Right now, I'm looking at Bernie Sanders.
You have excited a lot of young people. Have you ever excited young people before?
Not too often, no.
I notice it in front of my studio audiences whenever I mention your name, that you're getting a lot of support from very young people.
We are.
Awesome. Is there any specific campaign promises or political stances that have caused you to choose this candidate?
I like him because he seems legit. He seems like he is consistent with what he's been saying. A lot of his speeches that he's made in the last 30 years, he hasn't gone back on, or just in his career as a campaign, or no, as a career politician. And there's some things I don't like about him, but what I think is important is that he's looking to reform the general foundation of our country's infrastructure.
Well, right on. How do you follow the candidate of your choosing?
Mostly by researching.
Awesome. Do you mainly use possibly the internet sources, newspaper, the news?
Definitely there's a lot on Facebook, which I take with a grain of salt because it's like, you like this person, look at everything that he says. But yeah, it's a lot of the internet, a lot of YouTube, and a lot of I'm wary of articles because political articles are they're hard to filter, but
Understandable.
Also hearsay, just what people talk about. But
Yeah, well, thank you for your time.
all right.
Yeah. So what is your name?
Leslie Leutenegger.
Awesome, Leslie. So I have just a few questions for you. What would be some things that those running could promise to improve or change in order to get your vote?
So I think we generally as a country we don't try to, but we punish people who try to get an education. So I really want to see maybe public education becoming less expensive or possibly free.
Some of your positions, I think, are very interesting. In particular, you want college to be free. I think that's something that resonates.
I come from a family of European immigrants, and my father went all the way through vet school for almost no cost. So I just think that's really important. And probably just the right for women to have reproductive health, and so I don't want Planned Parenthood to be defunded, and just a lot of things like that.
Of course.
Yeah.
And who are you currently voting for as of now?
Bernie Sanders.
Awesome. Is there any specific campaign promises or political stances that have caused you to choose this candidate?
Yeah, I do think he's for the students, he's for the young people, and I feel like he's been very consistent in his opinions and his stances, and I really like that.
Awesome. Are there any policies that you disagree with?
I do disagree. He's taking kind of a stance so Hillary Clinton has decided that she wants to add on to the Affordable Care Act, but I think Bernie Sanders is looking for an entirely different system, and I just think that the Affordable Care Act has done so much that we're like basically 90% there. I don't think we should tear everything down and start from scratch, but that would be the only thing that I don't really agree with.
Okay, and how do you follow the candidate of your choosing as far as media goes?
So I do watch the news a lot, and I know that everything on mainstream media is kind of tailored, and we don't see a lot of important things. We kind of just see what gives ratings. But I do watch a lot of the news, and I will listen to NPR in the morning.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, can you give us your name?
My name is Maria Santos.
All right, Maria. Now, what are some things that the candidates can do to improve in order to get your vote?
I think some things that they could possibly do is maybe talk about more about their plans for education, improve how they're planning on improving our healthcare, and what's their deal on immigration. Because coming from immigrants, that's a big deal in my household. So.
Okay. Are there any specific campaign promises or political stances that you would use to choose a candidate?
Not in particular any right now.
Okay. And then are there any policies that you disagree with?
Definitely Trump's idea of building a wall.
I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. And I'll build them very inexpensively.
I'll have to ask my accountant about that.
I will build a great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Yeah! Mark my words. Yeah!
I mean, the thought of it's just ridiculous, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
And then who are you voting for?
I want to say Bernie Sanders, but I'm not. It's not a definite.
You still
Yeah, I'm still
researching it?
researching.
And how are you doing that? Are you on like Facebook, Twitter, newspapers?
I'm trying to keep it at a a more professional stance because the media is. They sway, either way, depending on who they're personally already voting for. Certain news stations, they lean more to one candidate than the other.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Maria.
All right.
Can you give us your name?
Bianca.
All right, Bianca. Who are you voting for?
I'm honestly not sure yet. Like I was saying, I think it'll be easier to decide. The more people drop out, the easier it'll be for just me to decide on who I really want to vote on.
Okay. Is there anything that the candidates can promise to improve or whatnot that would sway your vote?
As of now, not really. It's just because constantly, like we see in the media, like there's so many candidates saying so many different things, but just because they promise it doesn't mean like it's going to happen. So it's hard to say.
Okay. Let's see. Is there anything that you've seen the campaigns promise that you don't really like and that you disagree with?
From like the whole thing that like started like that began with Trump was the whole like building the wall, when really it's just him. But when you look it up, like actually most of them are also in for it, and like I don't completely agree with that. So I mean, it's just like the more research you do on that, like it's not just Trump who agrees on that. Like Hillary's in for it too, and so it just.
But you never hear anything about her. And are there any policies any other policies that you disagree with besides that one?
Probably the free community college, free college.
Free
I don't
college?
agree with that.
You don't agree with it?
No.
Okay.
I just feel like that's really gonna hurt the economy. That free stuff, like could just be used for something else. Like we have to pay for school, you know what I mean? Like we don't. It's like you have to like work for what you want. You have to pay, to like pursue a career, and then after that, like that's your reward. And I just don't think if it's just handed to us, then I think that we're gonna take that for granted.
Perfect.
Some people say, oh, this is a radical idea. It is not a radical idea. It is not a radical. I mean, right now, tuition, college education in Germany, Scandinavia is free. All right, and it's free because they understand that the future of their countries depend on young people getting the best education that they can. It's not a radical idea. In fact, I'll tell you this. Some of you may not know this. 50 or 60 years ago, you could go to major and excellent public colleges and universities in America virtually tuition free. That was America back then. If we could do it 60 years ago, we damn well can do it today.
All right, and then how are you following the presidential race right now? Is it social media, newspaper?
Social media probably is one of the biggest ones. It's everywhere. It's on Instagram, Twitter mainly. I see everything on Twitter, especially Trump. I see everything about Trump on Twitter.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
So what was your name, sir?
Rusty Mays.
Rusty, pleasure to meet you. My name's Amanda. I have a few questions here for you. What would be some things that those running could promise to improve or change in order to get your vote?
Well, unfortunately, I'm old enough to realize that you can't believe any of what they promise to change. If they could just promise me that they could work on making government smaller as opposed to larger and more efficient, and I could believe them, that's the person I'd be interested in voting for.
Awesome. Are you willing to share who you're voting for at this point?
I'm registered Republican, so it'll be whoever's on the ticket. Don't really care for Cruz, don't really care for Trump, but I'd just as soon have Trump.
All right. Is there any specific campaign promises or political stances that have caused you to choose the candidate that you're choosing, or is it just because they're Republican?
No, it's just because of they're certainly more liberal than the socialists on the other side.
Okay.
And I've worked too hard for what I have, and I don't mind sharing it, but I expect other people to work for what they have as well. The other party doesn't want to do that.
All right. Are there any policies that your candidate or any of the other candidates have that you disagree with?
Oh, only all of them.
All right. How do you follow the candidates of your choosing?
Just talk radio and just the evening news. I don't do any of the other social media.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
Puff Daddy?
Your friend Kyle told me you don't understand the importance of voting. Apparently you haven't heard of my Vote or Die campaign.
Vote or die? What the hell does that even mean?
What do you think it means, bitch?